Stormare is? You probably have no idea this is the guy's name. You've seen him in a ton of things. I mean, wide range. Usually a bad guy, a shady guy, usually from Eastern European descent, right? Like he's been major pigeonholed, but he's probably the most famous actor, actress that you know that you have no idea whose name they are, right? That's who Julius Randle is, really, in the end. Let's be honest, Knicks fans. Be honest with yourself. You know who he is. You can identify him, put name to face. But the average fan in the NBA, the average person who's only covering one team, they couldn't pick Julius Randle out of a lineup. To quote my old pal, Mad Dog Russo, I wouldn't know Julius Randle if he fell on me. Come on. Enough is enough with this Knicks hype, all right? 5 bets in 5 minutes. It's a rematch to open things up with the Sixers and the Knicks. You better believe it. That's where we're going to begin. You are going to begin with what? The thumbs up button, subscribing. Our boy Strohmeyer here is hanging with us for the segment. Let us begin. The clock is already underway. And yes, we start. How about that? With the Philadelphia 76ers laying 5.5 against a team that recently torched them. And rightfully so, by the way. The Knicks embarrassed the Philadelphia 76ers in New York. It's a different story. But wait, Shander, what if Embiid doesn't play? That's fine. That's fine. The team is not great without Embiid by any means, but they're probably right where the Knicks are. If you take Joel Embiid off the Sixers for tonight, they're really where the Knicks are. Just a middling team with a guy in James Harden that half of the fans under 15 couldn't recognize either. All right, you want a little balanced attack here. I don't think many 14-year-olds know who Harden is either, right? Of course I'm joking, but the bigger thing of Randall, I'm sure, is just eating at people. Look, Embiid's on the floor, they win by 10. Embiid's not on the floor, they struggle, but they win by 6, 7. They pull away. This is under 5.5 because of the question with Embiid. I get not wanting to take liability, but at the same time, totally fine here to open things up with the Sixers minus 5.5. I still think the Suns right now, and
And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Friday, February 10th. I am Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by PrizePicks. We've got 11 games on the slate for today, and there are a couple teams that are very difficult to talk about. A few that made it really easy by doing basically nothing during the deadline, so that will help us out a little bit. I looked through this one already on the Process Show earlier today. A lot of Q tags, a lot of stuff up in the air. We'll break it all down for you over the next hour. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Make sure you're following us both on Twitter. Handles should be on the screen. Adam, how's it going? Anything good for you yesterday?
No, nothing for me yesterday. I just, I was saying to you before the show, that slate went kind of the way you expected, where most of the very good plays just did really well. They were obvious, and I'm just not typically going to win those slates. I was saying to you, in the $400 single entry, 3 people duped. So I don't know, 20% of the field had the same lineup. Yeah, I'm fine just losing those slates instead of playing the same lineup as a bunch of other people. So yeah, on to today.
I don't know if you're going to have an answer for me out of the gate, but I am going to ask it in general. Anything that caught your eye during the deadline yesterday? Anything that you were like, wow, that's what they're doing? Oh, that's awesome. Anything that you just thought was interesting about the NBA?
I don't even remember anything that happened.
You're the worst co-host ever. Just absolutely the worst. Incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Lakers, I think the Lakers are not getting enough credit. I think they had a very good deadline.
Agreed.
I think people are letting their dislike of LeBron and the fact that they think Anthony Davis is hurt more often than he actually is get in the way of the Lakers becoming much, much better than they were. And then obviously it's also getting overshadowed by the massive Kevin Durant deal. But
sure.
So I guess that's the one thing that's like stood out is I just don't think the Lakers are getting enough credit. But also,
do you think the Lakers matter?
Yes. I mean, they have 2 of the 10 to 15 best players in basketball. Like that's not an easy out in the postseason.
If they get there.
Right. Yeah. If they get there and assuming they're healthy, you don't want to play LeBron James and Anthony Davis in the postseason.
No,
especially with much better teammates now than they had 3 days ago.
And not even just much better teammates, but like less bad teammates.
Right.
It's addition and subtraction in a way.
I don't know. Have you seen the reports out of Minnesota about D'Angelo Russell?
Yeah, it seems like he and Gobert got along.
Yeah, seemed like really, really good friends.
Which then you start to wonder, like, how much is it Gobert? Because obviously, like, he and Mitchell weren't exactly buddy-buddy. And it seems like everybody really likes Donovan Mitchell, particularly in Cleveland. Then again, D'Angelo Russell hasn't exactly been the most popular teammate ever. So, like, I don't know where the truth lies.
Yeah, I mean, for at least it's like if the reports are true that Russell's literally just like talking shit about this dude to other teams and coaches during the game, like you can dislike him, but clearly there's something wrong with you.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. Who's the best team in the West?
Phoenix.
Okay. I didn't know if you had a different answer.
No, I think it's Phoenix.
I agree. But their margins are thin. Like they can't withstand anything.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing. Like, it's still wide open. Like, I have a Memphis to win the finals ticket from like December at 16-1. I had Lakers to win the Western Conference at 16-1 that I bet when Kyrie demanded the trade. Now I also have Lakers to win the West at 25-1. But like Phoenix getting Durant, it was just like shit. That sucks for both of those. But also that team still has, like we were just talking about, with the Lakers, it's like, oh yeah, well, if LeBron and Davis are healthy. Chris Paul is a pretty old dude.
Yeah.
Obviously they'll be fine with Durant and Booker, even if Paul goes down. But, you're still talking about a team that doesn't have a lot of depth, has a 38-year-old point guard. Yeah. Devin Booker has plenty of injury history of his own. Kevin Durant currently hurt. There's still ways it can go wrong.
I think the most interesting piece of yesterday was the fact that anyone in the league could have gotten Bones Highland for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't like Bones. I'm not a fan. I have not been on the Bones bandwagon. The fact that he had precisely zero value, it seems, is crazy to me. Either Denver did a really bad job or he's just like persona non grata across the NBA.
Like it makes me wonder what was actually going on behind the scenes in Denver.
Yeah, because it's either incompetence by Denver or they squeezed everything they could, and Bones Highland is not a pleasant person to be around.
Yeah.
Not entirely sure what it is. Because the moment I saw it, I was like, oh, like Bones to the Nets for any one of these wings is just like a clear win for Denver. And the Nets need some dude, like another version of Cam Thomas, basically. Right. And boy, oh boy, did they not even get close to that kind of return. Holy shit. Two shitty Clippers seconds.
The John Wall back to Houston was good entertainment.
Amazing. Dude's not even going to take the physical, which is great. They didn't want him to report the last time they had him.
Right. they already announced the buyout.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that he just ends up in Washington and calls it a career there. But
it's a shame they have 27 point guards at this point, because just getting Westbrook and Wall and just like have some fun, split them 24 across the board and go for it.
Somebody was saying like, what team would take a chance on Westbrook after assuming Utah buys him out? And it was like, I actually think he'd be a good fit on Washington as, not somebody playing like 36 minutes, but Washington has shooters. They don't have good guard. Monte Morris is good. Beal's good. But like, other than that, like their depth guards suck. But you could actually space the floor. And I think he'd once again be decent in Washington. But I want Wall to come back. I actually read, I was looking for a different article on Players Tribune yesterday. I didn't realize John Wall had wrote one. But there's a very good John Wall article on there about like how dark things got for him during the injury and with his mom dying and stuff. And it kind of sucked actually to like, I was reading it knowing that he had just gotten traded back to the Rockets and cut or bought out. And like, he's talking in the article about how like happy he is to be back playing basketball and stuff. I was like, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. That article was, that was heavy. to read.
Yeah. I didn't. I somehow.
I don't want to say it was good because that's like I don't know how to.
Right.
It makes it sound different, but like it was like a really. I don't even like. I was happy to have read his words.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's an article that I'm very glad that I read.
Yeah.
It was not a particularly enjoyable read.
No, it was not. All right, you want to break this one down as best we can? Well, here we go, I guess, folks. Buckle up. San Antonio Spurs, 3-point dogs in Detroit, 235 total. This is the battle for Victor Wembanyama. Neither one of these teams wants to win this game, although if we're being perfectly honest, they are both going to be in the bottom four with very little effort. For the Spurs, Q tag on Trey Jones, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, Romeo Langford. No Devin Vassell, and it does not appear, I don't know if we're going to get Kem Birch. He's questionable, came in on the Jakob Poeltl trade. Since that one happened a day earlier, maybe. Devontae Graham, maybe, came in from New Orleans last night. We've got a lot of owners. Let's talk about the things that we know that we can talk about no matter what. They have a new starting center. It may be Zach Collins. It's probably Zach Collins. It could be Charles Bassey. Whoever starts for the Spurs at center tonight seems to be a very, very good play.
Yeah, whoever's starting at center looks great. 4K Zach Collins, 3K Charles Bassey. They're both good point per minute guys. You obviously don't have Poeltl soaking up minutes anymore. I mean, there's a path where they both do well, but you're clearly not going to play them together. But, if you get a similar minute split, like where Zach Collins is going to play 26 minutes and Bassey's going to play 22, a 3K Bassey off the bench looks good as well. So pay attention to the ownership. Right now we have 45% coming into Zach Collins. I don't have any issue with that. He's very clearly mispriced, assuming that he's the starter. But we have none coming into Charles Bassey right now. We actually don't have Charles Bassey projected to play. I think that is going to change. I assume Bassey is going to be the backup center.
I mean, it could be Kem Birch.
It could be Roby.
That's this. I hate this fucking team.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's obviously risk there. But my point is, if it turns out this is a rotation where it's just Zach Collins and Charles Bassey, at their current prices, they would both be underpriced.
Yeah. But the summary here, no matter what questionable news we get today, the starting center for the Spurs is going to be a really good play today, right?
Yep.
There's no other way to say that? Okay.
Yeah, without a doubt. It doesn't matter who it is. The only way that it would even become questionable is if they start Kem Birch, because then it's just all right, is that a weird spot start and they're keeping Collins and are they going to run a 3 center rotation? But if they start Bassey or Collins in particular, you can feel pretty confident that they are very good plays.
I don't think that there's anything else that we can say about the Spurs right now. I guess Keldon Johnson's fine to roster at 6,800 if he is in, but we're talking about 3 starters and potentially 4 starters with questionable tags today. You got to wait till later.
Yeah, there's going to be good plays from the Spurs probably. They have gotten more expensive just because you've had those guys, out. But yeah, there's probably going to be good plays here. It's just a matter of who they are. Right now, Keldon Johnson pulling 24% ownership. That seems aggressive to me on an 11-game slate, but
yeah, I agree.
It's not like he's a bad play.
And look, what we're saying about ownership right now is completely meaningless for the day. It will never be less meaningless. So we'll keep this going. We'll get out of San Antonio. We'll go to Detroit. Let's just stop for 1 second and have a 5-second conversation on Detroit picking up James Wiseman yesterday.
I don't know what they're doing. I haven't known what they're doing for a while, but I still don't know.
So I'll say this. For what they did, I love the idea of picking up James Wiseman. If you ignore everything that's on their roster currently.
Sure. Yeah, anytime you can get a talented, second overall pick for nothing, or essentially nothing.
4 second-round picks.
Yeah. I mean, they sent out Sadiq Bey too.
Different deal, sort of.
Okay. I thought it was the same deal. Yeah, it's fine, but you have Duren, and Duren appears to be good. He fell into your lap. Congratulations. You already have Bagley. You have Stewart. What are you doing?
I mean, this is the second team now that has done something with Marvin Bagley that basically immediately regretted it.
Right.
It's not just that they traded for Marvin Bagley last year, which was stupid to me to begin with, but whatever, reclamation project. To then give him $10 million a year, then to draft Jalen Duren. It's just, and now you have James Wiseman. I was very surprised to see most of that happen. If that's the price, like, why is he not in San Antonio? I just don't get it.
The biggest surprise is that then they immediately announced that he is the starter.
Yeah, which is wild, I guess. Is he playing today? Who the hell knows? I assume no. We don't know that yet, but I assume no. We have no Sadiq Bey. They went back to the Killian Hayes starting point guard lineup earlier, or whatever their last game was, Wednesday. I assume we're getting the beef stew Jalen Duren set up with Ivy and the Bojan Bogdanovic, who's still sticking around. There's a ton of really good plays here for the Pistons against the Spurs today.
Yeah, there are. Great matchup against San Antonio. If Wiseman isn't playing, which I assume, like you said, he's not, Jalen Duren at 5K certainly looks good. In I guess his last day as a starting center. Killian Hayes at 4,700 looks good, 30% owned, but again, ownership's not super important right now, and that's just very clearly a good value. Stewart's cheap at 5,100. Jaden Ivey's price tag keeps dropping. He's likely giving you 30 minutes or so in a great spot. Bojan's got a massive ceiling. This doesn't strike me as a slate where you're actually going to be wanting to play bench guys from the Pistons, but Amadou Diallo is underpriced at 3,400, especially, assuming that they are shorthanded here without Sadiq. Like, we know Sadiq Bey is not playing, but, assuming that other pieces aren't coming in. The Pistons look very, very, very good.
Is Hayes the best play here for you?
Probably. I think it's him or Ivy.
Okay. Yeah, Ivy $600 more expensive, but that $600 also buys you an extra position, so that's pretty close to neutral for me. I got to hit this super chat because it's a big one from Brijal. He said, just wanted to say thank you. Good luck, everybody. Lineup generator making this too easy. So Brijal had hit pretty big a week or two ago at this point, I think. Ended up finishing third on FanDuel last night for another 10K. So been a good run with the lineup generator. I think you guys should, if you haven't used it yet, sign up, and if you just want the lineup generator, you can go check it out, guys, at Stokastic.com. Probably a link in the description if I had to guess. Anything else for the Pistons?
Nope.
The Phoenix Suns are 1-point favorites in Indiana today, 230 total. This is a really unhelpful one because the Phoenix Suns are not only off of a trade deadline, but they are on a back-to-back. We got them yesterday as the chalk du jour, up and down the board. Shouts to Josh Okogie for going well, by the way. Wish I had more Ish Wainwright. Anyway, they're going to get Devin Booker back for today. I assume the guys that are involved in their trades are not going to be involved. I have no idea what the status of someone like Cam Payne or Landry Shamet is for today. TJ Warren, in theory, could be available here. I don't know what to do with Phoenix. There's a potential that some of these guys look great. There's a potential that none of these guys look good. Do you see anything immediately when you look at Phoenix and think, like, I'm probably going to get that no matter what?
No, I mean, we know it's a good matchup, and so it's going to be easy to like these guys depending on how news breaks. But if you just assume that everybody that played yesterday is playing today and then Devin Booker is back, with it being an 11-game slate where you are going to have a lot of value, I don't think there's anything that really stands out. Like, if you get to some DeAndre Ayton or Chris Paul, sure, like, it's a good matchup. They have high ceilings, whatever. But, like, my assumption is that you would have Jock Landale move back to the bench and you would get a starting lineup of Paul, Booker, Lee, Craig, Ayton. 3,600 Lee is going to look okay, but it's not like he's a great point per minute guy. Playing a bunch of minutes with Devin Booker and Chris Paul is not going to help that. Josh Okogie probably still gets decent minutes off the bench, but you're just going to be able to find better value options most likely today. It's a team that certainly could end up looking very good. But right now, if you assume everybody's in, I really don't think they look that appealing.
I am with you. I don't know, like, do you sit Chris Paul in this scenario or something on the back? I have no idea what these idiots are going to do today.
Right. In which case, like, Saban Lee probably starts at 3K.
Right. Did the trade get processed fast enough that, like, TJ Warren can be available? I have no idea. I don't believe he's even in the DraftKings file for today. So there's also that. I don't have much else that I could say for Phoenix right now because it's so weird. A team on a back-to-back goes from ultra chalk to mostly uninteresting.
Yeah, it's really
day.
weird. Like, it feels weird to talk about, but when you look at yesterday's game, like, they were shorthanded. They only had 9 guys, but, like, you got 32 minutes from Okogie, you got 32 from Wainwright, but those are certainly coming down. Damian Lee only played 25. So like that's a situation where even within that game, you got more minutes for Koji and Wainwright than you expected and less for Damian Lee. So like that would balance out a little bit. But then you also just have Devin Booker coming back and playing, let's call it 30 minutes. So you're just adding 30 minutes here. And suddenly, you're just looking at like, oh, cool, we're going to get, 20-ish, 20 to 22 from Wainwright, from Okogie, 28 from Damian Lee. Like, who cares?
I agree. Then we go to the Pacers, who are one of the few teams that we could actually just talk about as if nothing even happened. Aaron Nesmith is off the injury report. In theory, they could have Jordan Nwora and George Hill available for this one, assuming they are just the normal Indiana Pacers. We've got Daniel Tice as a backup center, and we kind of know the role of everybody else here. No ownership coming into the Pacers. I don't really see much that I think is great, but like they're clearly a couple guys you could just work in.
Yeah, it's just the situation where, like Halliburton, Turner, Hield all give you substantial ceilings in tournaments, but they all are correctly priced. They're all low probability plays. 6% chance of Hield being optimal, 5% for Halliburton, 3% for Turner. Like nothing that you're prioritizing getting to at all. It's just, oh, cool, this lineup happened to have Tyrese Halliburton. Like you're not going to be mad about it, but there's certainly going to be a lot of stuff you're getting to first.
I have nothing else to say about Indiana.
Me neither.
Coming up later today at 11:30 a.m., we've got the NFL matchup show, the final NFL matchup show of the year, starting to prep for Super Bowl Sunday. At 3:30, we'll have the No House Advantage NBA show. Adam will be back at 4:45 for the NBA Deeper Dive. And then you'll get NBA Live Before Lock from 6 to 7:30. So still plenty of content coming up for the rest of the day. Be sure to hit that like button, by the way, to the 400 people that are in here. Only 72 likes. I think that we could do at least a little bit better than that. As we move on to the New York Knicks. 5.5-point dogs in Philly. 229 total. Knicks did make a move yesterday, picking up Josh Hart. Now, I am not expecting Josh Hart to play today. Just going to hit you with this question, I guess like a pre-question for when he is here. Who does this affect? Like, obviously, Miles McBride doesn't get to play any longer. So you think it's Grimes?
Yeah. That's my assumption is Hart.
Do you think he's going to start over Grimes?
Yeah.
I don't.
Do you think so? You think Barrett's moving to the bench? Or do you think Hart's playing off the bench?
I think Hart's playing off the bench.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
I mean, if they weren't willing to, they like desperately wanted Quentin Grimes to be in the exact role that they have.
Yeah.
Like he was like the piece they didn't want to trade for Donovan Mitchell. So, and you saw once he came back, he went straight into that starting lineup, basically once he was healthy enough to do it and has been playing massive minutes. I just don't know where all of the minutes come from to play Josh Hart. Like you get 8 out of Miles McBride and then somebody's about to be really unhappy.
Quickly.
I mean, he has to play less, although like, I don't know. It's a really weird setup. I didn't see the Knicks needing Josh Hart. And
yeah, like I thought it was a weird addition.
Like he's clearly a real, like he's an NBA rotation player.
Oh yeah.
He's a plus to a team that didn't really need it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess like, does RJ Barrett more consistently play like 32 minutes now instead of 38?
I think everybody might.
Quickly goes from 28 to 20.
Yeah.
Do you kick Obi Toppin out of the rotation and RJ Barrett plays the 4, like backup 4?
I think if you're going to do that, then you would have traded Obi Toppin, I think.
Maybe.
Because, I mean, like, he's getting to the point where they either have to re-up him or, like, he's not going to be on the Knicks any longer. Anyway, for the Knicks...
I mean, like, is there really a difference between playing the guy 10 minutes a night or 0? Like,
I mean, to me, no, but, like, apparently they like him, which they got a funny way of showing it.
Right.
No ownership at all coming into the Knicks. Even if Hart's not here, like, we know what these guys are doing. We know the minutes. The guy that I like the most is, stop me if you've heard this before, RJ Barrett, but even that is faint praise. I
got nothing.
Yeah, I just don't see it. These guys are priced probably too high.
Yeah, it's an 11-game slate. It's an 11-game slate where you're going to have a lot of really, really good spots to get to also. Yeah, I mean, it's not that I like hate the price tags on Randall or Brunson, but they're not particularly appealing, and there's just going to be so many good spots.
This is just such an unfun slate. It's crazy. It's really crazy. Okay, well, we keep it moving to the opposite side. Philadelphia 76ers. They were able to ship out Matisse Thybulle. They brought in one of the McDaniels, Jalen. Is it Jalen?
Yeah, it was Jalen, the one from Charlotte.
Yes, they brought in Charlotte McDaniels. Q tag on Joel Embiid, which I'm pretty sure you guys can get used to at this point. I don't think that's going to go away for the rest of the year. No real ownership here coming into Philly. Nothing really happens to the rotation. You have to replace 9 Matisse Thybulle minutes. I totally forgot Daniel House was on this team until earlier this morning. Like, just was not on my radar at all. Thought he was going to matter. Melton's seen his minutes tick up over the past 2 games. That's been interesting to see. I think he's probably the best thing that you can get to from Philly. Obviously, if you have 11-5 for Joel Embiid, knock yourself out. But they don't look great either. I mean, matchups against the Knicks rarely do.
Yeah, nothing looks great, but you do have some decent pricing here. I mean, obviously, Embiid and Harden, like if you get to them, great. They're correctly priced, but very, very high ceilings. We have seen Harden's minutes trend back up, which is nice to see. He had kind of like spent a brief stretch where he was just playing 34 or 35 every game, which was not ideal for fantasy, but we have him back to playing 37, 38 in competitive games. You have Embiid coming off of a 39-minute game. So if this game's competitive, you certainly can get plenty of playing time. They're going to look good. But DeAnthony Melton and Tobias Harris, neither one very appealing point per minute guys. But like you said, Melton's playing time has been trending up. Matisse Thybulle not playing today does make it, I think, a little bit more likely that Melton continues to see those minutes, just because there's the chance that they just don't add anybody to the rotation. Like maybe Matisse Thybulle just becomes Daniel House, but you could also just see those minutes go to, solidifying Melton's role, giving, a couple more minutes to Niang, stuff like that. So I think Melton at 4,400 is interesting as a last guy in. And the same goes for Tobias Harris, who we know he's clearly the 3rd/4th option when Harden, Maxey, and Embiid are all in, but he's still giving you 32 to 34 minutes a game. He's $5,500. There's clearly a path to success, even if this isn't the same Tobias Harris that we've had in previous years.
Man, this game does not look interesting. You want to keep it moving? Because we've got something fun that we could actually talk about. You ready for this one?
Yeah.
The Charlotte Hornets finally made us happy by shipping out Mason Plumlee, so we don't have to do that dance again. But now we have to figure out which one of the Charlotte centers that we have to play. They are 11-point underdogs in Boston, 230 total, but still no Kelly Oubre, no Cody Martin. I don't think that Svi Mikhailiuk or what other absolute zeros the Hornets got yesterday are going to play today. I think we're assuming Mark Williams is the starting center, but much like the San Antonio Spurs, whoever the hell starts at center for the Charlotte Hornets is an excellent play.
Agreed. Don't know who it's going to be. I assume it's Mark Williams, but they could just go to Nick Richards and keep Williams in the bench role. Either way, though, 3,200 for Williams, 3K for Richards. Whoever starts is going to look really good. Whoever doesn't start is also going to be appealing if they're not getting ownership. Like if Mark Williams is starting, you clearly are going to prefer getting to Mark Williams. He's a better point per minute guy. You'd be projecting him for more minutes. But like right now, for example, just looking at the gap in ownership, it's 10-1 between Williams and Richards. That's a spot where in individual tournament lineups, you want to just say like, all right, well, I played a bunch of popular guys here. Let's just go Richards instead of Williams and hope to get lucky here. He's not a 10-1 dog against Williams, but so it's a spot where you can certainly get creative with the backup center, but especially if Williams is the starter, since he's the better point per minute guy, he's clearly going to be the one that you prefer.
Yeah. If we knew that Mark Williams was the starting center for right now, you knew it. We just knew going into lock, no doubt about it. Is he the best play on today's slate?
Who?
Mark Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Probably. I think we're on the same page there.
I mean, he's like a 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy at minimum salary playing, let's call it 26 minutes.
Yeah. And potentially more than 26 minutes. Like, right. If you want to be as pessimistic as possible, he's an outstanding point per dollar play if you split 24-24 with Nick Richards.
Right. Assuming you're getting 48 minutes combined from Williams and Richards, and Williams is the one starting, it's not like you're going to say, oh, he's starting, so he's playing 22 and Richards is playing 26.
Right.
Yeah, if you call it 24 apiece, he's still going to look really good.
So we are on the exact same page there. Is anything else viable here for Charlotte? We've got Hayward playing these extra minutes now. The minutes are great for all of the starters, but I think the prices are where they should be.
Yeah, nothing else that really stands out. LaMelo at 10-2, like sure if you get there, but there's plenty of guys like that on this slate. Don't have anything else, but whoever starts at center is going to look really good.
Yeah. It's just weird. That's like there's just nothing else here. I assume Bryce McGowan's plays a bunch. That shouldn't mean anything to anybody, but just putting that out there. Then we go to the Boston side. They actually do matter today, but they're going to be kind of weird. No Marcus Smart still. Jaylen Brown's going to be out until after the All-Star break. Bummer. Q-tag on Jason Tatum with an illness, which if you're ever going to be sick, a matchup against Charlotte today is probably a good day to be sick. Horford is available. Robert Williams is available. Grant Williams is available. They picked up Mike Muscala in a deadline deal. I love that as a better version of Luke Cornett to just go out there and play like 10 minutes and space the floor. Big Muscala guy. Always has a really nice plus minus, but regardless, let's just assume for right now that Jason Tatum is in. Do you like him at 11-2? Yes.
Like there's going to be enough value to get there. It's a really good spot. Jason Tatum's obviously really good. I also think he's correctly priced at 11-2. This is another one where, like, ownership doesn't matter a ton right now, but I imagine if he's actually 20% owned, I just find some other spots to get to. But yeah, I mean, I like it. It's a good matchup. He's obviously great.
Who's the second best play for Boston today?
I guess Derek White, but
yeah, real minutes lately.
Yeah, you could argue Robert Williams, but probably Derek White.
Okay. Yeah, like I think the prices on Grant Williams, Al Horford, Brogdon, like they're all pretty undesirable at this point. How do you feel about spot start Sam Hauser today? Shooting guard, small forward, 4,200. Probably not going to go as well as it did last time.
Yeah, 4,200. I'm good. Completely ignoring that.
Yeah. Now, what do we do here if Jason Tatum happens to sit?
Brogdon's going to look better. White's going to look better. Grant Williams becomes really good at 4,400.
I don't feel like I don't feel like it unlocks Peyton Pritchard the way that you want it to. I don't know where the rest of these minutes come from, though. Like, they don't really have any wings if Jason Tatum sits out this game. And that's where it starts to get really square. Like, do you like Sam Hauser if Tatum sits?
He's okay, I guess. He's still not a good point per minute guy. He's still not minimum salary on a slate where you're going to have plenty of value.
Okay. I don't have much else to say for Boston. It's crazy to think Marcus Smart's going to be out. Jaylen Brown is going to be out. Potentially Jason Tatum is out. And like, they're really not going to look all that great.
Yeah.
Let me hit this super chat quickly from DNC, I assume entertainment, but I have no idea. It is assumed in Piston circles that both Wiseman and Duren will be starting against the Raptors on Saturday, rendering both of them just about useless. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but if that is something that they're doing, that's even worse than starting Beef Stew.
Yeah, like I initially laughed when I read that and was like, that's a ridiculous thought. And then I was just like, it's the Pistons. They just acquired Marvin Bagley and James Wiseman and drafted Jalen Duren. So maybe they are. That seems insane.
Yeah, I don't get it. What? Like, hold on. I forgot to look at it before, but like, what happens when Marvin Bagley comes back in like a week?
He plays the 3.
Good snap answer. I wasn't ready for that. Beef Stew at the 2?
Yeah.
And then where Nerlens Noel going to run the point?
He runs point. they saw the Raptors 6-8 lineup and were like, oh, we raise.
Yeah. You guys wanted to be 500 playing all these long guys? We'll be 300.
I mean, I think it was Alex yesterday had the take. It was either Alex or somebody in chat. I don't remember. We were trying to figure out what the hell the Pistons were doing. That maybe they were just concerned that Duren is too good too quickly and that they weren't going to win the lottery. So they picked up Wiseman and are going to give him minutes over Duren or play him alongside Duren, which also just guarantees that you lose games.
Yeah. I mean, they are 9 games clear of Orlando. Houston has 42 losses. Detroit has 42 losses. San Antonio has 41. Charlotte has 41. Orlando has 33. They are 8 losses cleared. I don't think it's possible for any team that's not in that bottom 4 to not be in the bottom 4.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot that they don't.
Yeah,
or that like they do it differently now.
Yeah, it is. It's bad. It's real bad. Let's get out of Boston. We'll go to Utah. Utah, a very different team today. They are obviously without Mike Conley. They are without Malik Beasley. They are without Jared Vanderbilt. I don't know if Juan Toscano-Anderson and Damian Jones are going to play. Russell Westbrook is not really on the Utah Jazz, although technically he is on the Utah Jazz. We are, however, going to get what I would assume to be a pretty sizable chunk of playing time out of Colin Sexton, point guard, shooting guard eligible, 4K. Let's start with him pulling a bunch of ownership in our projections, and I can't see a scenario where he's not one of the more popular plays by the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. He's a good point per minute guy. We know earlier in the year when Conley was out that Sexton was getting a bunch of minutes and was a good play. He played 31 minutes last game against Minnesota. I'm not expecting this team to be markedly different than they were in that game. I don't think they're going to have a bunch of bodies added here yet. So, yeah, Colin Sexton's going to look great at 4K. I don't really see a way around it.
The other guy that's pulling the ownership here is $3,400 shooting guard small forward Talen Horton-Tucker, who played 24 minutes in a blowout on Wednesday off the bench. Not so sure we see this ownership by the time we get to the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm not in agreement on this one. He played 20 minutes non-garbage time last game. He closed the game. That got him to 24 and a half. Like, can he have a good game at 3,400? Sure. He's a good point per minute guy. He's got good positional eligibility. It's just, we've seen this time and time again this year that everybody in the DFS industry really, really, really wants Talen Horton-Tucker to be a thing. And the Utah Jazz do not really want Talen Horton-Tucker to be a thing. So, like, every time there's minutes available, the industry is just like, oh, it's Talen Horton-Tucker day. And then the Jazz are just like, no, we have like 8 guys that we like more than him.
Yeah. No, it's Simone Fontecchio day.
Right. And then everybody on Twitter is just like, how is Horton-Tucker not playing? And it's just like the same way he did in the last 15 times this happened. So, yeah, like he's an okay point per dollar value if you give him, call it 20 minutes at 3,400. He's the kind of guy that on a smaller slate would certainly be appealing in those minutes. If the ownership ends up being non-existent and you want to just hope that something weird happens in the game and he gets to 26 minutes or something, like as long as the ownership is low, there is upside on that gamble. But if you get a situation where it's just like, people are playing Horton-Tucker here, I'm fine just going elsewhere because I think it's very likely he plays 20 minutes.
I don't really like much of anything for Utah other than if Walker Kessler is sub 1% owned, I certainly am at least mildly interested at 5,700.
Yeah, always interested in Kessler in tournaments just for the block upside. Olynyk still 4,800. I think that's a reasonable price. Clarkson 6,600, playing without Connolly could benefit a little bit, but yeah, nothing like that I think is a true priority other than Sexton, but certainly not upset about getting to any of the other starters.
I don't have anything else here for Utah.
Me neither.
The yo-yoing of Lauri Markkanen's price tag is really fascinating. This dude is like plus or minus $1,000 every couple of days. Back down to 8,800 now. On the Toronto side, no OG Anunoby. I have no idea if Jakob Poeltl is going to play for Toronto today. They are pulling absolutely zero ownership in a great matchup against Utah. This is one of those days where I'm not going to say that I think Toronto looks good, but it is a day where I'm fine. Like, I assume I get one Toronto dude in most of the things that I'm doing.
Yeah, just mixing in any of the starters plus Chris Boucher, especially if Poeltl's not playing. Is fine. Like, at low ownership, it's a good way to be contrarian, but you're just not pointing to any of these guys and saying like, oh yeah, I can't believe they're not getting more ownership. Like, they're all pretty much correctly priced. It's just that in this matchup and with the way games work, like when you talk about them being correctly priced, you're talking about their median projections, which factors in like what Pascal Siakam does on average and what VanVleet does on average. But realistically, within one game, often you're going to get the game where VanVleet underperforms and Siakam runs the show or vice versa. And when that happens, it doesn't matter that VanVleet's 9,200 because he plays like he's 10-5 and same for Siakam. So there's still massive upside at low ownership in tournaments. It's just that on average, they're not great plays at their prices. So there's not one of them that you want to just be singling out and saying just like, oh yeah, I'm jamming in Fred VanVleet everywhere, because it's not going to come to fruition that often.
On the off chance that Jakob Poeltl plays today, do we even have do you see him anywhere quickly by any chance?
Do I see him anywhere?
Yeah, like did you have like I don't know his price, right? Okay, so he's 6,200. I assume we have no interest in Jakob Poeltl today.
I don't think so. I mean, if he started, like maybe, because there's some chance that he's just stepping in and becoming a Nick Nurse starter, and you have a $6,200 Pirtle playing like 30 something minutes, but I assume that's not going to be the case. So yeah, probably not interested. It would make Boucher and Achua less interesting though.
Yeah, I mean, if once we get Pirtle, like Achua is done, right? And Boucher is mostly done.
You would think. I mean, I assume Achua is still in the rotation, but not from like a DFS standpoint.
Who knows? They might just Jakob Pirtle becomes Precious Achua. Achua doesn't play anymore. It seems like they just swap out one center for a different one, and then all of a sudden they just go away permanently. All right, I got nothing else for Toronto. Let's go to nothing else because it's not time to talk about another basketball game. It is time to talk about PrizePicks, the presenting sponsor of this show. I hope you guys are watching my PrizePicks videos. Don't be mad if you missed yesterday's, but you should be mad if you missed 2 days ago when I went 5-0. It's a good one to watch. You guys can go sign up at PrizePicks using the link in the description. Not only will you get up to $100 in an instant match deposit bonus, but you'll get a 1 month free trial of Stokastic plus Platinum. That's everything that we have behind the paywall, including our PrizePicks player prop tool, which is going to help you out quite a bit. You're picking player props. You're taking over-unders. If you put together 5 on one card, you can net up to 10 extra entry fee if they all hit. You could even get a little bit more back if you hit 4 or even 3, or you could do 6 on one card. That'll net up to 25x on whatever you put down on it. Adam and I are going to work our way through a couple prize picks for right now. There's enough out there that we can talk about it. My video will be out sometime shortly after this strategy show, so keep your eyes peeled there on our Odds Shopper channel, which you guys should check out. We're going to go raw points, real points, not fantasy points. And let's go to Philadelphia for the big man, Joel Embiid. If he's playing, is he going over or under 32.5?
We have 32.8. I would lean over.
Okay. I got 34-1, so I'll take the over there as well, assuming he is in. Let's see. Who else looks interesting? Okay, this one could be interesting. I don't know where he's going to line up here. Killian Hayes, 14.5.
Under.
Yeah, I got 12-1, and I gave him 29 minutes. I think that's a pretty firm under.
Yeah, we have 12-4 and 29.5, so same boat there.
Okay. Good to see. Who else can we take a peek at? Let's do 1 or 2 more here. We're going to have Jordan Clarkson sort of running the show a little bit more here for the Utah Jazz. Unless Colin Sexton has something to say about it. But Jordan Clarkson, 21.5 points.
We have 21.1, so I probably wouldn't take it, but I would lean under if I did.
Yeah, I would lean under as well. I got him at 19.3. I hit the Jordan Clarkson under on my perfect day 2 days ago. It was a line similar to this. I think he had like 8. He had a real piss poor game. There was no sweat at all on an under, which is pretty hard to do. We'll do one more before we keep it moving. Who's the most interesting name we can do here? Let's go. Let's stay in Utah. Lauri Markkanen, 24.5.
Under.
Yeah, I got 23-4. Not loving the Jazz for today. But that's PrizePicks, folks. Watch my content. Check out everything we have at Stokastic for it. Again, up to $100 on your first deposit and free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Okie doke. We're moving it on. Minnesota Timberwolves. 9-point underdogs in Memphis. 238 total. Probably a tricky one to talk about. They are now without their former point guard. That's going to be no D'Angelo Russell. We have no idea what the status of Mike Conley is going to be in this one. Kyle Anderson is an actual Q tag. Rudy Gobert is an actual Q tag. Austin Rivers is back from his suspension. We don't know the status of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but my guess is that he will not see the floor for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Is there anything here for Minnesota? If Conley is out, somebody becomes a value. Who do you think that is? What do we do here for the Wolves?
Yeah, so I mean, ridiculously difficult to talk about right now. But so Gobert, starting with Gobert, Gobert's questionable. He looks good at 6,700 if he's in. If he's out, you have Naz Reid at 4,900. I'll go back to Naz Reid again. Kyle Anderson questionable at 5K. If he's in, he looks fine. If he's out, you have minutes opening up for probably a $3,500 Taurean Prince. If Conley is in at 5,900, I'm not really that excited to get there. I do like him on this team quite a bit. But from a DFS standpoint, not particularly interested. If he's out, I assume you're getting a lot of run for $3,800 Jalen Noel, who, even if Conley is in, gives you upside in tournaments, but wouldn't be any sort of a priority. But if Conley is out, would look very good. Edwards probably looks a little bit better if Conley's out.
How many minutes do you think we can get out of Jordan McLaughlin? Do you think he would be the starter if there's no Conley?
So they brought him off the bench last game. He played 16 minutes. They started Noel. He played 29. Would have played more.
Fair.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure. I'm reading pretty heavily into what they did last game because I wasn't sure what they were going to do. Like Alex and I had talked about it on the deeper dive, and it was just like if Russell ends up getting traded and they're without all these guys, I don't know exactly what they're going to do because I don't know if they're going to start McLaughlin. I don't know if they're going to start Noel. Typically, they hadn't wanted to start Noel, and Chris Finch had also talked recently about really liking having Noel play alongside Jordan McLaughlin, and so it was just like, all right, maybe they're going to try and keep that second unit intact, but also if you don't have Russell on this team, like who the hell is handling the ball if you're keeping those two on the bench? And so we saw them go with Noel as the starter. He got the bulk of the minutes. So at this point, if Conley is out, I assume that's what they're going with. They also won the game by 30 points. Like it's not like it didn't work. So
we're also going to be bringing back two more starters in Anderson and Gobert and whatever we think they're doing with Rivers. Yeah, potentially. Yeah, we have no idea what this Minnesota team's going to look like.
Yeah, Rivers is not on the injury report, so we do have him back.
Yeah, he's properly back. He's no longer suspended.
But like I don't think that the Gobert and Anderson pieces really matter. I think the Conley piece matters because like Taurean Prince started and played 29 minutes. Naz Reid started and played 22. You got Garza playing a ton. So you got Knight playing 12. So like the Gobert minutes were already accounted for. The Anderson minutes are pretty much already accounted for. Bryn Forbes, played like 10 minutes in the first half. Josh Minot was playing in the first half rotation. So like bringing Anderson back and moving Prince to the bench, those minutes disappear before you're getting into the Jalen Noel minutes.
The only thing that concerns me is if you look at the team, like if everybody's in, do you look at the team differently from a ball handling perspective because Kyle Anderson is on the floor? Yeah. So that's where it starts to get weird to me where maybe you do want to keep that second unit and this ends up looking different.
Right, this came up when Alex and I had the conversation too, because it was like if Russell gets traded and Anderson is in, it is different from like they could start a different lineup than if Anderson is out and Russell is traded. Because you could just get, Anderson and Edwards essentially with the ball in their hands and they keep Noel with the second unit. Yeah,
like that could very easily be Austin Rivers.
Right.
And then you have that second unit. Right. So it's something to pay attention to.
Yeah,
it's all speculation.
In, you could easily get a lineup of Anderson, Edwards, Rivers, Prince, McDaniels, Gobert.
Yeah. Much ado about nothing for right now. There's not much to dig into. Like this, fire up your Naz Reids if Gobert is out. Like we've been down this road a little bit before, but the lack of D'Angelo Russell will matter. The Memphis Grizzlies, on the other hand, still without Steven Adams. I assume they're going to be without Luke Kennard for today. He was picked up from the Clippers. No ownership coming into Memphis. Generally speaking, a matchup against Minnesota is going to look pretty good. I'm happy to get to a $10,600 Ja Morant at very low ownership, but I don't see a single priority from Memphis, unfortunately.
Neither do I. Just pretty much correct pricing. You don't have injuries that aren't accounted for already. Tillman's up to 4,900. Clark's sitting at 5K. If you want to gamble on Clark and hope that you get the game that you got last time where you played 25 and Tillman only played 23, sure, but not really striking me as the slate where I want to do it. Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson, probably the most appealing guys to get to just because of the ceiling that they both give you. Morant as a scorer, Jackson because of his ridiculous block upside, but nothing that stands out as priorities here.
And we'll keep it moving. Probably have an interesting team here, and yet I think they look awful. The Houston Rockets are 10.5-point dogs in Miami, 226 total. For Houston, Kevin Porter Jr. still out. They picked up Danny Green, who I don't think is going to be long for Houston. They've also picked up Frank Kaminsky and Justin Holiday. John Wall is technically a Houston Rocket. I don't believe he has been officially bought out yet.
I thought he actually had.
I don't think it's official yet. But they also traded Eric Gordon, and that opens some things up. So there is no ownership coming to Houston. And unfortunately, I don't really think that anything looks all that great here. Does anything open up to you? If there's a particular starting lineup change, can you find anything for Houston where you're like, oh, that's probably somewhere I want to be?
Keep an eye on Jayshawn Tate. He played 25 minutes last game. We talked about, he kind of had just been stuck in that 20 to 22 minute range, but he is a pretty good point per minute guy if he gets the minutes. He's 3,800, got up to 25 minutes last game. Now you don't have Eric Gordon. You could get Tate in the starting lineup, in which case I think he's interesting. If they go to like Deshaun Nix or Josh Christopher, they're cheap and like could do well, but I wouldn't be nearly as confident as I would if they go to Tate at 3,800. Other than that, though, I mean, I pretty much just want to be taking shots on $8,400 Alperen Sengun and $6,900 Jalen Green because of their upside. But there's nothing that stands out as like plays that I expect to have a lot of. I just like the price tags on Green and Sengun.
Yeah, I'm willing to rotate through Green, Sengun, and my boy Jabari Smith, who never succeeds for me. And then I don't really see it anywhere else, which is kind of a bummer. It kind of sucks that, like, I don't know. You would expect losing Eric Gordon would open something up, and it just like didn't.
I mean, they have 100 wings that are just interchangeable.
Yeah. And then we get to the Miami Heat, who didn't do anything other than cut off a gangrene limb in Dwayne Dedmon. Kyle Lowry still out. Victor Oladipo out. No Duncan Robinson. No Jovic. No Yurtseven. They have Jamal Cain and Bouye available. They went with the 8-man rotation on Wednesday, much like they went with the 8-man rotation on Saturday. Flip-flopping backup centers is meaningless. It's just massive minutes to go around. And to me, probably not enough ownership coming into this team. Hero, Bam, Gabe Vincent, a little bit more expensive, but these guys are just going to play a ton.
Yeah, the minutes should be there. Price tags came up a little bit, but not too much. It's a good matchup. Hero 7,800 coming off of a very disappointing game. I'm happy to go right back to him. He played 40.3 minutes against Indiana. I will take my chances that he manages to produce fantasy points this time. Butler at 8,400 played 35 to 36 minutes. You can expect him to be in that range again. Adebayo's up over to 9,100. Center only, makes it tough, but 36, 37 minutes of Adebayo against Houston is going to look good. Gabe Vincent at 4,500 playing mid-30s is going to look good. Caleb Martin played 37 last game. That's something that we had talked about on the show where he was like the one guy on Miami that wasn't pulling ownership. And it was because he didn't have that favorable of a price tag, but it was an interesting way to be contrarian because you could get that path to big minutes like you saw. You certainly could get that again today, but Max Strus also only played 17 minutes in that game. On average, you probably get a bit more from Strus, a bit less from Martin. So it makes both of them risky, but certainly still a good spot for them. So Hero, Butler, Vincent, Adebayo, the spots where I think you're most confident. And then if you mix in some Martin and Strus, that's fine as well.
I have a hard time getting to Gabe Vincent. He's so inconsistent.
Yeah, it changes a little bit when he gets to start.
Yeah, like sometimes he's going to play 16, and now apparently he's going to be able to play 35. Like, how am I supposed to rectify that? Oh, wait, no, it's just because there's no one around, and he's going to play a shit ton of minutes, like we see him do all the time when these guards sit out. I'm shocked to see him only 5.5% owned, but 4,500 is a real price tag for a guy that isn't great per minute guy.
And there's going to be plenty of other spots to get to as well. I mean, and again, it just goes back to what you were saying earlier about ownership and everything not really being relevant right now. Like Gabe Vincent right now looks like a pretty good play, I think. If Kyle Anderson and Mike Conley are out, I'm playing Jalen Noel over Gabe Vincent as much as I can. So there's just so many different things that can change on this slate where Gabe Vincent could end up looking really good, or Gabe Vincent could just be a guy that you forget is even playing today.
Who of the big three for Miami do you like the most?
Hero.
Okay, yeah, we're on the same page there.
Best positional eligibility on DraftKings, point guard, shooting guard instead of just power forward or just center. Cheapest. He was the only one that sucked the other day, and that has been a trend when I play him recently. But I think he's just the easiest to get to, and that's not to take anything away from Butler or Bam.
Yeah, sure. Then we go to Cleveland. The Cavs are 2.5-point favorites in New Orleans. 225 total here for Cleveland. They didn't do anything on the deadline.
That's because they're better than the Bucks.
Yes, which is certainly a take not backed up by anything. at all. No Ricky Rubio for this one, so you'll turn him into Howell Neto. We had no Garland and Mitchell in the last game. They are both available for this one. No ownership coming into Cleveland, and I don't really see any reason that you would prioritize getting to a guy from the Cavs, but obviously any lineup that you get with Garland, Mitchell, Mobley, or Allen in it is not going to break your heart.
Yep, that's how I see it. It's a healthy team on a slate where most teams or a lot of teams are not healthy, so you're just not going to have priorities unless there's a complete mispricing, which there isn't. But the nice thing about big slates, and I think I saw this come up in chat a minute ago. The nice thing about large slates, like they kind of suck in that there's just going to be so much random shit, especially in large field tournaments, that happens where like it's just like, oh, I couldn't win today because I didn't play some random backup that some idiot played. But the nice thing is that like you can get contrarian in tournaments by playing really good plays. It's not like, last night, like I was saying at the top of the show where I played John Collins in high stakes. I didn't think he was a good play. He was just low owned and was like, oh, maybe he'll have a good game. The smaller slates, you kind of just have to grab random low owned pieces and hope for the best. On large slates like this, like I can be different by playing Donovan Mitchell against the Pelicans. Cool. Like sounds good. Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, all of those guys are good contrarian plays. You're just not getting them in a ton of lineups.
That's Cleveland for you. Fascinating that, like, apparently they're also not going to buy out Kevin Love, so he's just going to not play for the rest of the year.
That whole thing is weird. I feel like I kind of just think I'm wondering. I think he might really like the mentor role.
Dude, he like quit on the team multiple times and like was just flinging passes around and shit when these kids were screwing up like a year ago.
I mean, he
was a total asshole about it.
I don't remember that. I remember him being very vocal about like wanting to stay in Cleveland and all of that.
You don't remember him firing a pass to someone like from 3 feet away because he was disgusted with their play on the court? Yeah. Oh my God, dude.
But that also doesn't counteract what I'm saying. Like, or it doesn't contradict what I'm saying. Like, if you can enjoy the role of just saying like, look, like I don't care about playing a ton of minutes anymore, any of that. Like I enjoy working with these guys and then still be pissed off that they're playing like shit and throw a basketball at them.
Yeah. He might like it a lot more now that they're good.
Right. That's also possible.
But even at the same time, I doubt that he wants to just not play.
I would be very, very surprised if Cleveland did not do what Kevin Love wanted them to do at the deadline regarding Kevin Love.
Man, I don't know. I feel like he could get a buyout right now and go somewhere.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
Play basketball. I don't know why he wouldn't want that.
My guess is that he doesn't want to. I think he likes Cleveland. I think he likes Cleveland. I think he likes the team. Like my guess is just that he is happy. He would rather be essentially Udonis Haslem than go continue to play basketball.
So you think he re-signs in Cleveland in the offseason?
I have no idea. I'm just saying, like, I'd be very surprised if if Cleveland's front office did not have Kevin Love's wishes in mind at the deadline.
I doubt Kevin Love has to be retiring soon. He's only 34. But water droplets. Cleveland is not awesome. If you use words like that incorrectly, it invalidates our entire language. If we're calling Cleveland awesome,
more and it's a lot better than people would say.
If we're calling Cleveland awesome, then how do we describe actual awesome things?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from that standpoint, sure. Like it annoys, like I've never been to Cleveland. Obviously it's fun to shit on. It annoys me when people that have never been to Baltimore, like talk shit about Baltimore, but I enjoy living in Baltimore. I wouldn't call Baltimore awesome. I've been to New York City and Miami and those places are awesome.
Yeah. No, I don't need to go see the Christmas Story house. That shouldn't be the third thing that shows up in top 10 things to do in Cleveland. So yeah, no, awesome is the wrong word. The New Orleans Pelicans on the opposite side of this one. Apologies in advance to AB. I think we've established that none of AB's family is in Cleveland because I think I dumped on them like a week ago too. Pelicans picked up Josh Richardson from the Spurs on the deadline. I assume he's not playing today. No Zion, no Dyson Daniels. We got a big game out of Joval last time out. I guess I like the Josh Richardson pickup. I don't know what position he's going to be playing for the Pels, but whatever. More depth.
Yep.
Is there anything here you
want to guess who's going to get those minutes?
Yeah. Only guy that I like here is Brandon Ingram.
Joval's still interesting to me.
I can't. I'm tired of it. I don't know what to do with him. He legit doesn't play more.
So that's the downside. He was smashing the Hawks last game. I had played. He was really popular in high stakes. I had played Larry Nance as a leverage play against him at no ownership, and Nance is just having a completely mediocre game. Joval is just destroying Atlanta, and they still closed with Nance. They gave Joval 24 minutes. If he's not going to get more minutes in that game, it's really hard to think he's ever playing more than 24 unless something really weird happens, because he had very clearly played his way into more minutes in that game and still didn't get them. But at 24 minutes, he's still a good point. He's such a good point per minute guy. He's still somewhat appealing. You do have you have a shitty matchup though. So I think if he's really 1% owned, I have some interest, but it is tough because it just kind of seems like at this point he's hard capped at 24.
It's so weird. Yeah, Ingram at 7,600. I would like to play Herb Jones, who appears to be playing 34, 35 minutes a game, 0.8 fantasy points per minute. He's just going to look so wildly uninteresting by the time we get to lock.
Yeah.
The Oklahoma City Thunder are 3.5-point dogs in Portland, 241 total. For OKC, they shipped out Mike Muscala. Lou Dort is questionable, so if you thought things were confusing before, it's even more confusing now. They picked up Dario Saric for Darius Bazley, which I actually liked that pickup of Saric for the Thunder, I guess. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, in theory, could come back at some point in time. He's in the G League. Poku's still out. Jang with the G League. Is there anything that we could even do here for OKC? Because they look really bad. Obviously, play Shea if you want.
Yeah, Shea and Giddey are fine. Jalen Williams, the center at 3,200, I think is kind of interesting. No Muscala, no Bazley. I assume Saric isn't going to be there yet. Williams played 31 minutes against the Lakers. If he's in the starting lineup, I think you could get enough playing time where he's actually a pretty good value. He's still not as good as Mark Williams. If he's starting is the problem. But I think that's kind of an interesting tournament play if he's in the starting lineup.
I was typing, who's the interesting play in the starting lineup? I feel like you right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
The $3,200 center with no Muscala and no Bazley coming off of a 31-minute game against the Lakers.
It certainly went quite well.
It won me a tournament, which I did not expect. I wasn't even sweating the team. I was like, I have Jalen Williams left. Cool.
I'm going to assume that they just call up JRE or to really just make things excessively complicating. Let's just say this. Let's say he's starting. How many minutes can you give him?
That's the issue, is that you're still projecting 22 probably.
That's what I gave him right now.
Yeah, it's just that it's the way the Lakers game went, the minutes he got there, and he played well. If it's actually going to be on the table that when Jalen Williams plays well, he can play 30 minutes, he just becomes appealing in tournaments at that price.
I thought he was a better per minute guy. I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, 0.92 is a little lower than I thought.
Yeah. I looked at it for a second and I was like, am I looking at the wrong line? Shit, am I looking at the wrong Jalen?
Right. Yeah, so, I guess to clarify, because we just spent a lot more time on him than I intended. I kind of just wanted to throw him out there as an interesting play. I'm not planning on having tons of Jalen Williams or anything. I'm kind of cautiously optimistic based on how many minutes they let him play against the Lakers last game and the fact that Muscala was gone.
Anything else for the Thunder?
No.
The Portland Trailblazers on the opposite side here. They made some moves. They shipped out Josh Hart, as we mentioned before. They brought in Cam Reddish. They brought in Kevin Knox. They brought in Ryan Arcidiacono. They brought in somebody else that I'm missing, Matisse Thybulle, who I assume isn't available. But I assume all of those guys aren't available.
Loading up on stars around Dame.
Yeah, really, really doing it. And they shipped out Gary Payton after a 10-game rental, or however many he played. Lots of ownership coming into Portland, which makes some sense. It's always a great matchup against the Thunder. 25% coming into Dame at 10-9. feels a tad high. 14 coming in to Simons, Grant, and the guy that I think we assume is going to start here in Nas Little, small forward, power forward eligible, flat 3K. Not a great per minute guy, but just clearly stepping into a different role. What do you see when you look at Portland here? How do you feel about Dame? How do you feel about Dame in relationship to SGA on the opposite side?
Yeah, I mean, Dame looks good for sure. Still no Nurkic. You get a bump in usage for him. I think he projects better than SGA. But again, we've said this on a lot of slates recently. The ownership gap between Lillard and SGA has probably been a little bit too wide, and right now is probably projected to be a little bit too wide again. They have a very similar range of outcomes. Lillard typically is going to play a few more minutes and, again, projects better, but similar range of outcomes. So I think it's a spot where within given lineups, if you want to pivot some Lillard to SGA, that makes plenty of sense. Simons at 6,800 should play a lot of minutes. So should Jeremy Grant at 6,700. So they're both decent plays. Nas Little at 3K. Like you said, not a good point per minute guy, only 0.71 DraftKings points per minute for the year, but played 26 minutes off the bench last game. That was a game that Gary Payton started. Little played the final 18 to basically 19 minutes of that game after Gary Payton was done playing. I don't know if that was trade related or what, like if they just sent down the message to get him off the floor or what it was. But Nas Little played a lot of minutes down the stretch. I expect him to move into the starting lineup and probably play enough minutes to be a pretty good value at 3K, especially as a small forward where typically you just have the least opportunity cost.
You willing to go to Eubanks and or Watford?
Not really. There's just so many good centers on this slate. And it's not even like Eubanks is one of the cheaper like value centers you can get to. He's $1,000 more than Mark Williams. He's $1,000 more than Jalen Williams. I think it's tough to get to Eubanks. Watford center only on DraftKings now too, which pretty much kills any interest I would have had in him.
I got nothing else here for Portland.
Me neither. Tony Purcelli said OKC commentator calls him J-Dub and J-Will. Yeah, like that's how you differentiate them. They have different nicknames, but I can never remember which one is which. So yeah, it doesn't help me. Like I'll see on Twitter, like somebody be like J-Dub or J-Will, and I just have to go to Basketball Reference and be like, which one is this?
Yeah,
I would prefer.
They need real nicknames. Like call the dude fucking Squirrels or something. I don't care.
You need a nickname that can't apply to both of them.
Yes. Yeah. It's so awful. One of them should have to change their name.
And in writing, it does no good. Like if you're writing, like on Twitter, if you're tweeting about them, just write Jalen and spell it correctly, and it's a lot easier to know who you're talking about.
It's so brutal. It's like the Office Space. Like I don't know why I said it as the Office Space. It's like Office Space. Why should I change my name? He's the one who sucks. Like I hope they hate each other. I was just ruining my name. We'll keep it going. The Dallas Mavericks are 1.5 point dogs in Sacramento for today. Obviously, there was a trade involving the Mavericks. They picked up Kyrie Irving. He has made his debut on Wednesday. We have a Q tag on Luka Doncic for today. I think the safe thing to say is that there's nothing playable for Dallas. I don't really think that you can go to Luka at 12-2 other than just being like, well, it's Luka Doncic. Oh, he can score 90 fantasy points. But like, this one looks really difficult to want to get to.
Man, the dude's been in the league for years and you still hate the guy.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hell of a price tag. If he's in, I don't mind it. Like, I think you're going to have enough value today to get there, and he's playing Sacramento and really good. Like, if Jason Tatum's really going to be 20% owned at 11-2, is it that much harder to get to Luka, who is still better than Tatum, assuming he's not going to be on a minutes limit?
No, like, he looks better relative to the other guys that are pulling ownership, but he is a bit of a question mark from a rates perspective. Like you have to assume his usage is coming down. You have to assume his assist rate is coming down to like still exceptionally high star levels, but he just doesn't have, he's not going to have the same carte blanche because they have another real guy there.
Yeah. The median projection definitely comes down. That's a good point. I honestly just kind of blanked on Kyrie for a second as well. Which
Kyrie's going to have the ball a little bit more than Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yeah. So no, I'm more in line with you now. Like it's a good tournament play if you can get there, but like it's not a priority. I literally just blanked on. I was like, I knew they had made a trade, but like I forgot Kyrie was already there, and so I'm just like I was really confused why you weren't like enamored with Luka on a slate with a ton of value. But yeah, now that I remembered Kyrie exists, I agree with you.
And Christian Wood is there, played 17 minutes on Wednesday. I don't know what the hell they're doing with his minutes, but like every extra minute he plays is just one of the other. There's only 3 guys on the court that are going to like dominate the ball, and he is one of them. And has had no problem shooting even alongside Luka for the entire season.
Yeah, Double R said, could you compare his rates with LeBron's rates with Kyrie in Cleveland? In general, that's not a bad approach, to just try and use somebody as a proxy. Like I've done it I know I did it this year with Cleveland when we had no idea how Garland and Mitchell were going to work. I just kind of looked at Garland's rates with Sexton on the floor. And it's not perfect, but it is an okay way to go. LeBron and Luka obviously aren't ideal comps because Luka does need to be more ball dominant than LeBron even.
Yeah. I tried looking at Brooklyn and no Kevin Durant, which is a slightly more recent sample size than LeBron but if you're trying to 6 years ago.
So you're saying like use KD instead of Luka, or use KD for Luka.
Yeah. And like I used, Kyrie, I tried to look at like Dinwiddie with Luka off for Brooklyn and, vice versa here and just be like, okay, well, like this probably comes down a little bit. This is where they were with another star. You can kind of piece it together.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not perfect, but it's a decent way to just get some feel.
Yeah. Like Luka's not going to suddenly be a 29% usage guy. Kyrie's not going to suddenly be 38 or 20. Like,
right.
There's basically like 1.5% range on either side where like I wouldn't argue the number at all.
Right. Like, and going back to the LeBron point, like I know just from reading, I don't know, some Dallas article that was talking about the potential fit for Kyrie, like LeBron did defer quite a bit to Kyrie for extended stretches in Cleveland where like, I don't think Luka's going to do that. But it's still clearly going to be less usage for Luka. So, again, it's not perfect, but it can give you a decent idea.
And we got to remember LeBron deferring to Kyrie. LeBron's like a 31% usage guy for his career. Luka is at like 38, 39 for this season. Like he was deferring, but he didn't have to defer this way.
Right.
Do you like Kyrie if Luka's out?
Yeah.
Do you like anybody for Dallas if he's out?
What'd you say?
You like anybody for Dallas if he's out?
Not really, because I still think Kyrie and Wood. The problem here is I think Kyrie and Christian Wood, even if Luka's out, dominate all of the production. But at their price tags, I'm not sure that's enough for me to really like them in tournaments. If Kyrie at the very least would be in that conversation with SGA and Lillard, where you definitely want to pay attention to the ownership. It's a good matchup. He played almost 37 minutes last game. That's good to see because he was limited to 34 to 36. So always nice when they exceed that right out of the gate. So I'm expecting him to just be playing 37, 38 minutes. He's going to look good against Sacramento if Luka's out. It's just, I don't know how often you can still get to him when you have Lillard, when you have SGA, when you have as many other good plays on this slate as well.
I got nothing else. Sacramento is a team that's very easy to talk about. One, the Dallas Mavericks are 28th in my pace metric right now. Two, Sacramento didn't do anything at the deadline unless you're really excited about Kessler Edwards. This is a team that doesn't make any changes. They're always the exact same lineup. The highest owned guy right now is De'Aaron Fox at 9K. I think the most likely scenario is not rostering anyone from Sacramento. Obviously, like most of these other teams, if you get Domantas Sabonis in a lineup, or I guess Fox, like you're cool with it, but there's nothing here.
Yeah, healthy team, correctly priced, unappealing matchup from a pace standpoint, at least. Nothing that I really want to get to.
And we will close this out with the late night hammer, 10:30 start. Milwaukee Bucks, 1-point dogs in LA against the Clippers, 223 total. Milwaukee, I guess the assumption is going to be that we're not going to have Chris Middleton here for today. He played 24.5 minutes yesterday and had quite a nice scoring night. So slowly getting ramped up. I guess we get Joe Ingles back today. I assume we don't have Jay Crowder, but we very easily could. We'll see how that shakes out. I have no idea what kind of shape Jay Crowder is going to be in. Not like you're worried about rostering Jay Crowder. He can very easily take Marshawn Beauchamp's minutes. The only ownership that's coming in here is the $12,500 Giannis. There's certainly going to be enough value to get there. Do you like Giannis?
Yeah. Forward eligible is nice. Should play 34, 35 minutes, assuming he plays on the back-to-back. One of the highest projected guys on the slate. Right now we have him. We have him second to Luka, but that's actually kind of surprising to me. I figured Giannis would be higher. But yeah, I like getting to Giannis. Doesn't have the same level of opportunity cost as like Luka does. You're going to have plenty of value to get there. So I think Giannis looks really good.
By the way, Jeremy Sohan and Trey Jones went through shoot around. Khem Birch will not play. Devontae Graham is available to make his Spurs debut. Jordan Clarkson is now questionable. And something named Stanley Umude signed a 10-day contract with the Pistons. I can only assume that dude's 7 feet tall.
Yeah, I was going to say, so he's probably a center.
I got to look this up. If this dude's a center, I'm quitting the show right now. He's 6'6". Okay. University of South Dakota. Umude played 4 seasons at South Dakota. Okay. Man, I wanted him to be a center more than anything in the world. Is there anything else that we could possibly roster for Milwaukee other than Drew Holiday?
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess Drew Holiday, but I think it's pretty much Giannis or bust for me.
And we close it out with the Clippers. The Clippers are a bit of a problem for today. They obviously had some heavy team turnover. John Wall, no longer here. Reggie Jackson, no longer here. Luke Kennard, no longer here. Kawhi is out for this one for rest. I assume that Eric Gordon, Mason Plumlee, and Bones Highland are not going to play today, but we could get that news that they're in. Who knows? Norm Powell pulling 33% ownership feels a little healthy. I tend to prefer 4K Terrence Mann and certainly $8,900 Paul George. What do you want to do with the Clippers here? Weird spot, lots of playing time to go around. Don't trust the team at all.
Yeah, pretty much. Lots of minutes, though. I mean, 8,900 for George. I'm kind of surprised that he's not projected for more ownership. Shooting guard, small forward eligible. 15 games without Kawhi for him this year. 33.3% usage rate, 1.3 DraftKings points per minute. Seems like he might be going overlooked a little bit. But, again, there are so many good plays on this slate. I get it. It's just, it's a pretty fair price tag for him. Norman Powell getting a ton of ownership. I do think he should be popular. 14 games without Kawhi and with George this year. Only 0.81 DraftKings points per minute, but a 24% usage rate. Should get plenty of minutes here. 5,700 shooting guard, small forward. So, again, probably getting more ownership than he deserves, but does look like a good play. Marcus Morris at 4,300. Looks good. He's been playing big minutes. Got 30 last game. He had been playing more than that previously. 4K for Terrence Mann looks fine. Never mad about getting the Zubats, but center is pretty loaded today, so it's tough. To me, Powell, George, Morris are the guys I probably get to the most.
I assume that we're going to be able to stop saying Ivica Zubats looks good once Mason Plumlee is available. That's just going to kind of nerf him.
I would think so, because I think it's going to basically lock in the Zubats is playing, 24 to 28 minute thing. I think you're going to stop getting these Zubats plays 36 minutes randomly.
I'll say one thing, though. Jacob saying Kawhi is not Kawhi no more. That is a hell of a take for right now because he has been incredible this season.
Yeah, I mean, he started out slowly, but...
Which makes his aggregate line look even better. This guy coming back off a year off and has legitimately not skipped a beat. 60% true shooting, shooting 37% from 3, 80 percentile assist rate. He's above average in offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, 88th percentile in steals. We know that he's exceptional defensively. Maybe you're watching the wrong guy. Maybe it's that Kawhi imposter or something.
Good point from SMP. I had forgotten to mention it, and it is a negative for George. Ty Lue had said they were going to limit the playing time of George and Kawhi going into the break. I have no idea what that means, but it's not good. What
number are you willing to type in next to his name for minutes? 34? Yeah, okay. Sons of bitches. And obviously, in no way, shape, or form am I surprised if it's 36 to 38.
No, he could very easily have meant we're going to sit Kawhi one game and then we're going to sit George another game, and that's limiting their minutes. He also could just be completely lying. NBA coaches do that constantly. It is. I would like Paul George more if Ty Lue had not said that, but I also don't believe Ty Lue.
Anything else?
Nope.
This is a hell of a slate, man. I mean, this is an aggressive amount of work. There's no chance that I'm touching this one. 4 games at 10 o'clock after the rest of the slate locks. at 8 is just a disaster waiting to happen. I wish it were 2 slates with like decent sized prize pools. It could be really fun. There's so much news to wait on. The 1:30 injury report is going to be very pivotal in explaining a lot of this slate. I'm trying to hold out on my content until that actually comes out. You got NBA Bet Pro coming out in a bit. I have an assumption that there's a lot of like bets that you could potentially hit if you're paying attention quickly.
Yeah, NBA Bet Pro video will be out around like 1-ish. I'll have the NBA notes article basically saying that I have no idea what the hell is going to happen today coming out in the next hour.
There we go, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to PrizePicks for being the sponsor. Don't forget to sign up there. Click the link in the description of this video. Head on over. You'll get up to $100 on your first deposit and a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Good luck, everybody. Enjoy your weekend as well. Deeper dive at 5. No, deeper dive at 4:45. Make sure you're tuning in. Yeah. Hour 15 minutes. Adam will be back. We're out of here.
Hosting, so we definitely need those 15 minutes.
Sorry the show is going to be bad without me, guys.